started out by like investigating plastic and looking at a current environmental issue and photographing trees caught in the, or plastic bags caught in the trees and bushes along the highway here in Missouri and Illinois. And after studying it like a scientist, I really wanted to know what to do about this problem, because after it breaks down in the environment, guess what? It goes in the soil, in the air, and then eventually ends up in us. And so it's like we are becoming plastic. So instead of being crippled by that, I wanted to figure out what to do about that problem. And I didn't quite know what to do, so I just started following my intuition and like listening to my gut. And my gut told me to bury that print in Forest Park. And so I did that, and I left it there for a year. And then unearthed it to discover that semi-gloss photography paper is actually made of plastic. And you could see the ink print pulling away from the plastic backing. And so all these things that I had wanted to talk about started to come together, so I knew I was on the right track. I went from investigating it in a very linear, logical way to then intuitively, what do we do with this? And so I worked from that space, that intuitive space, to create my Reclaiming Gaia series, and took the female figure as the Mother Earth archetype and layered it into interior spaces that we all know, like our living rooms, with exterior spaces like national parks, and there's lichen over here from Elephant Rock, as a way to, how do we resolve how to live between these two spaces, right? Like, we all want to continue to drive cars and be in a modern society, but then how do we remember that we're also human and we're part of this? And the answer I came up with was to then connect to nature as much as possible. And so I created that series, the Waiting for the Rain with cyanotypes, as a way to connect with nature. And I started laying cyanotype paper down on the sidewalk and then waiting for the rain to come and leave its impression, because I think nature leaves its impression on us when we get outside and connect with it. And I think the more we can do that, the more we can feel inspired and pull forward sustainable environmental practices. So I hope you guys feel inspired to get outside and connect with nature, and let me know if you have any questions. I think each of us can do something really awesome in our everyday lives to connect with nature or pull forward practices that are more sustainable. So thank you all for coming, and yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer that. Yeah?
So there's two?
Yeah, so the print in the frame I buried for a year and then unearthed like last year sometime, and then this frame print I recently unearthed on election day, you know, thinking about everything that's going on in the world. I just really wanted to get outside and like reground myself, and so that one I unearthed here recently, and you know, it's kind of like the beginning and then where the practice is now in looking at decomposition in the earth. So that one's kind of a special print because it's brand new, freshly unearthed. And I have more in Forest Park I still need to unearth as well, but it's interesting.
Did you map where you put them?
I remember.
Yeah.
They're all like in the same area,
Yeah.
but certain trees. So. And it kind of brings back that like how photography was, where you had to like wait for your film to develop and then develop it in the darkroom. So it's exciting. Yeah.
How deep did you bury them?
That's a great question. So it really was about finding a place like under a log or next to a tree, and I didn't have to bury them very deep. Some of them I put next to water to kind of see what water would do, but that one was like in probably this much dirt, and the leaves and the sunlight, you know, took its toll. So
That's a good question, because you wouldn't want squirrels digging them.
yeah. But it also goes to show that like, look how much decomposition, or not how much decomposition happens in a year. You know, this 1 second decision that you make at the grocery store is a 1,000-year consequence for the earth. It takes 1,000 years to degrade a plastic bag. So,
Wow.
yeah, very good questions. Awesome.
And were those pictures that you had taken to start with, or were they just ones you had?
Yeah, so that's a great question too. These pictures are actually series that I did where I was shooting like a filter with plastic, through plastic. So I would find plastic in parks, like plastic wrappers, plastic bottles, and then I would shoot through it like a filter. And so this print is that print. So, you know, this is what it was originally, and then decomposed. Yeah. So everything in here kind of has to do with plastic in nature, you know, to get us to think about that. So.
It's amazing that the orange stayed so nice.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I challenge you guys to think about what is it that each and every one of you guys can do in your lives to maybe shift into a more green practice. You know, that's where the difference is made, right? And we can each pull forward and do something. Because I think we each have a unique power within to do something. What I can do as a teacher and an artist is different than what somebody can do as an engineer, right? So I think if we all do our part, we can live in a more sustainable green world where this will probably go obsolete in the next, I don't know, 10, 20 years, I think. We'll be using something else, you know? Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.